Bitcoin's environmental impacts. Let's bring in Pete Howson from the UK. Now, Pete is a senior lecturer in international development at Northumbria University in Newcastle. Pete, thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us on Ticker. Now let's talk about this. What are some of the energy demands of Bitcoin? And I guess how environmentally damaging is the mining of the cryptocurrency?
Right, so Bitcoin really is the dirty old man of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin relies on, as you say, a network of these competing machines known as miners. And the way these work is they're like safe crackers guessing combinations to a digital lock, with the winner getting a number of Bitcoin, which are currently worth around $50,000. So it's very lucrative. And back in 2009, when this game of digital bingo all kicked off, you could mine Bitcoin just with the average laptop, which didn't use a lot of energy. Today, because so many miners has entered the competition, it's much more difficult to secure these Bitcoin, which means that the whole network now uses in the region of 115 to 120 terawatt hours of electricity every year. And that sounds like a big number, but just to put that in perspective, that's the same amount of energy as the whole of Poland uses, and with a similar carbon footprint. So it's about 53 million tons of CO2 pumped into the air every year to mine Bitcoin. About 61% of Bitcoin's energy use comes from fossil fuels like coal, unfortunately. 75% of that hash power that goes into mining Bitcoin is based in China. And you've got the CO2 emissions, but you've also got all the hazardous e-waste that comes from mining Bitcoin. About 11,500 tons of that gets dumped on cities in the global south. And you've got to remember that these aren't like laptops, computers that mine Bitcoin. They're specialist application-specific integrated circuit machines that can only do one thing, which is do the SHA-256 algorithm that mines Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin isn't a thing anymore, and one day it won't be, all of those machines will get chucked straight in the bin. They can't be repurposed to do anything else.
Wow, it's very, yeah. And when we talk about coal, we know coal is one of the largest emitters that we have in regards to fossil fuels. So I guess my question is, what can be done to mitigate the environmental harm that this kind of mining is doing then? Are there any quick fixes?
Right, so there are certainly no quick fixes, especially in a bull market. So miners all around the world, this isn't just specific to China, they use a very simple market calculus when they are mining Bitcoin. So they have to work out on any given day, is it profitable to switch on all the ASIC servers and mine Bitcoin? So they work out the cost of mining a Bitcoin, and if that's less than the market price of a Bitcoin, then they switch on all the machines. And with the price going up so rapidly as it is at the minute, it's going to be profitable to mine Bitcoin however you do it. So you could use the cheapest fossil fuels, well, even if they're more expensive than usual, you still use those fuels, and you use old, less efficient ASIC servers. You switch them all on. There's very little you can do. I mean, there is this UN-endorsed mechanism called the Crypto Climate Accord, which has been kicked in, mainly in North America. There's a few Bitcoin mining companies that have joined this accord, and they've committed voluntarily to use only residual renewable energy to mine Bitcoin. But the problem is that if any new miners join the competition, whether they're using renewables or not, it triggers an effect where all the other miners have to work harder to compete. And if you've got the majority of mining occurring 75% in China, in Mongolia, for example, and they don't have electricity there, they just have coal. They're going to mine more coal, and they're going to switch on more ASIC servers, and that increases the carbon footprint of the network as a whole. So even if you only use renewables in your new Bitcoin mining venture, you're actually increasing the environmental footprint of the Bitcoin network.
Very contradictory, isn't it? Now, you've previously written an article recently in The Conversation, and that talks about, I guess, debunking the myths around Bitcoin. Can you just please run through what these are?
Yeah, so in that article I wrote that there is these 4 myths, and one of those myths is that Bitcoin is slowly getting more efficient. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I mean, just in the last year, we can see that the actual emissions, or just in the last 3 months, back in January, the carbon footprint of the Bitcoin network was 36 million tons of CO2 per year, and today, just a few months later, we're now at 53 million tons. So it's actually getting more and more polluting as the months go by. As I say, the more people that enter the competition, the more ASIC servers have to be produced and disposed of every year. Well, between every 12 and 24 months, they are disposed of and replaced with new, more efficient units. So as time goes on, it becomes more and more inefficient. And that's the whole point of Bitcoin. So proof of work is Bitcoin's value represents the amount of energy that has been used in order to make a Bitcoin. So it's designed to be inefficient. I'm sorry, I'll go through the other three.
Other three, there was 4, yeah.
Yeah, so there's also this myth that, Bitcoin is replacing gold and cash, and they also have very high carbon footprints. So Bitcoin as a digital replacement for those things, it's actually is beneficial for the environment. That's not the case. The Bitcoin isn't replacing cash. Bitcoin can only ever do 7 transactions per second, and if you put that in relation to Visa, so not including PayPal, MasterCard, all the other ones, just Visa carries out 1,700 transactions per second. So there really is no possible way that Bitcoin can replace all other systems of moving money around. It's not replacing gold. Gold had an all-time price high this year as well. Really, gold and Bitcoin can't really be compared. They're 2 very different stores of value.
Yes.
So in that respect, Bitcoin just adds to the carbon footprint of gold and cash. Bitcoin isn't encouraging a shift to renewables, which some people are saying. It's actually, what we're seeing is new fossil fuel power plants opening up. Fossil fuels, you switch on the coal-fired power station, you mine in Bitcoin straight away. With renewables, you can only mine with renewables when the wind's blowing or when there's residual hydro available. With coal, it's always there, and that's why miners prefer coal. And yeah, institutional investors are not doing any favours, including Elon Musk, for the carbon footprint of Bitcoin. Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, all of these other advocates of Bitcoin, they're pushing the price up and they're making it more economically feasible to mine using dirty fuels to create more Bitcoin.
I was just going to pick up on your point there about Elon Musk. What do you make of his decision? I mean, surely he would have done his due diligence prior to accepting the Bitcoin. Yeah,
I mean, Musk is in the renewable energy and electric vehicle business. This is a really interesting contradiction to all of this, I think. There's been a report that's come out by the International Energy Agency that shows that electric vehicles have done wonders for bringing down CO2 emissions by 50 million tonnes. That isn't enough to cancel out the footprint of Bitcoin. And Elon Musk knows this because he's in the business. So, I mean, you could look at this cynically and suggest that perhaps Elon Musk and Tesla, they don't really care about carbon emissions. They care about number go up. And the interesting thing here is, within hours of Elon Musk tweeting it was inevitable and adding Bitcoin to his Twitter profile was when Tesla was being pulled in front of Chinese government regulators to discuss the safety concerns they had about Tesla. I mean, you could suggest that perhaps Bitcoin and Dodge and all these other cryptocurrencies are just used to keep bad news under wraps.
Absolutely. Pete, thank you so much for your time on this and your insight. It's been really great to speak with you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. You're up to date for now. For more breaking news and trending topics, don't forget to visit our website,